Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Nicole with Edge of Wild, and I'm going to start my onion seeds and then some of my cold season crops. So I have kale, cabbage, and lettuce to start. The lettuce might be a little early, but it does prefer cooler temperatures, and I'd rather get it started and growing so that we can hopefully avoid some of the pests once we do get outside. Last night we got, I'm gonna say, like 4 inches of very fluffy snow, and we have really windy conditions. So we had quite some whiteouts this morning. Supposed to warm up this week. There's not a lot of frost in the ground, but we definitely have a lot of snow cover. It's crazy to think that I want to be putting stuff in the garden in like less than 2 months. Really less than a month. Not quite. I want to put stuff in like the end of April, and it's crazy to think the weather's going to go from snowing to plantable in that amount of time. But today we're going to get started with the hopes that the weather turns around. So I'm going to start like 45 plants of each onion variety. I'm going to show you how I do that. I actually plant them very densely because they come apart really easily. Onions have very wiry roots, so they don't actually get tangled together like a lot of other plants. So they're really easy to just kind of very gently tease the dirt off of the root of the plant, and then you're able to stick them in the ground. They look kind of sad for like 2-3 days, and then they pop right up. And I've had a lot of luck doing onions from seed. Last year I tried some direct from seed in the garden. Those did not pan out well, but my ones from seed did okay. I think I didn't have enough nitrogen in the soil, but with putting all the compost on the garden this fall, we should be good to go with that. So I'm going to get everything set up, show you how I'm planting the onions. The cabbage, lettuce, and kale, that's all pretty standard. Same thing that I did with all the other seeds. I'm going to put 2 to 3 seeds in each cell. Cabbage, I think I decided I'm going to try to start 16 plants, so 8 cells. And I'm using the larger, so this week I'm using larger cells for my vegetables. I usually do, so it gives them a little bit more growing space. But yeah, I'll start 8 of those, 4 cells of lettuce, and 4 cells of kale. I don't need that much kale. I need like 2 plants of kale. I have 2 plants of kale that last all season and do great. But when it just kind of works out for the math as to how many cells I have and what I could start at this point, we're going to start 4. So we have to thin some out. So let's get everything started. Okay, so I have all of my trays filled with dirt. I'm going to plant my onions over in this one, and I'm just going to go 3 rows across. First seeds that I'm going to start with are my Walla Walla sweet yellow onions. And like I said, I'm going to put about 15 seeds in a tray. I'm not necessarily going to count them out. Onion seeds are a lot bigger than, say, snapdragon seeds. So if I wanted to count them out, I could. But I don't usually get quite that specific. These onion seeds are also a couple years old. They're actually, let's see, these were germ tested, yeah, in November of 19. So, been a bit of a while. Last year I did not have the best germination on them, and I am not totally sure why. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle them in. I did order some new seeds. Maybe what I'll do is I'll start 2 cells with the new seeds and just this 1 cell with the old seed. So this is the old seed. And I'll mark that on my label. And then these are going to be the new seeds that I'll use. I really want to use up the old seeds, but I really want to have them germinate. And if they're not going to germinate, I don't know that I want to add them in. So Again, just kind of going to sprinkle them in along all the way around in the cell. These, like I said, these are actually really cold tolerant, so they should actually be able to go out, I would say very early May, like Mother's Day weekend, because they can take a cold snap. So I'm not gonna have to worry about them growing on till like June in here. And I'm just gonna sprinkle them in. Oh, we have a runaway. Back. I'm kind of gonna pat them down in. And I'm going to lightly cover them with some soil. So I'll do that when I'm all done with all of the seeds. Onion seeds need to be about 1/4 inch deep. Easy rule of thumb with seeds when it comes to depth, if the seed packet doesn't tell you, one, you could always go to Johnny's and look it up because they would tell you. But the seed, what you're going to do is plant it about twice as deep as the seed is wide. Now, like an onion seed's not quite round, but roughly round, so not hard to figure out. But something like a pumpkin seed, you're going to pick the width of it, not the height of it. You know, not necessarily always going to be the longest part. Okay, and then these are going to be my Pattersons. I had great germination on this old seed. This stuff is from 21. So I actually think I'm just going to plant the old seed to try to use it up. And again, pretty much just going to put a whole bunch of seeds in there. If I have to thin them, if they're like super compact, then, or super thick, then I will thin them as needed. But I'm not thinking that I'm going to have to. You can use old seed. Old seed's not a problem. A lot of times your germination might go down. Things like onions, I do believe, lose germination a little bit faster than other things, but not to a point where I would be overly concerned about it. That's all of the Pattersons, and then my next one is my red onions, and these are red carpet onions. And I open this pack. These are new. I've never grown red onions before. And these seeds are way different in color. Look at that, it's kind of funny. Red onions are very light colored, where yellow onion seeds are very dark. Doesn't that just seem the opposite of what one would think? So I will sprinkle these in. I'm not as worried about having quite as many of the red onions. I don't use red onions when I'm cooking quite as much. They're more like a salad onion. So I don't need to make them quite as thick. But you can kind of see here, because seeing as you can see these ones in comparison to the soil, at least for now, you can see about how I'm putting them in here. That is all of my onions. Germ rate on this one is 83%, so we'll have to see how much actually come up, because that's actually a pretty low percentage for onion seeds. I don't know what I'm going to put over here. I might put some extra cabbage over on this end, seeing as I have these 3 extra that I have no real plan for. I like cabbage a lot, plus if I don't use the cabbage or the cabbage gets really buggy, I can give it to the chickens. And the bugs love cabbage. I'm hoping starting it earlier will help me out. Okay. So these are kale seeds. Tiny little things. And I'm gonna start 2. More towards the center, please. I'll start 2 of these in each cell. Kind of not totally in the corner, but kind of opposite corners. Makes them a little easier to thin if I need to, or separate. Sprinkle in an extra seed just because. These ones do not have a germ rate percentage because they're just Walmart seed. So you can see with the lettuce, this is what I'm talking about with roughly twice the depth, or twice the width to get the depth. So the pointy, from like pointy end to the other end, that is your height, not your width. It's going to be the width of the seed. So lettuce is also only going to be about 1/4 inch deep. So I'm going to sprinkle that in at the other end of the kale. Because I don't know the germ rate on this, I'm going to do this one a little bit thicker. Just because I am new to the world of lettuce, and I really would like to see these become nice heads of lettuce. So we will thin as needed. So we'll make this end clean here. Put kale. And then down on this end, I'll put the lettuce. And then I'm going to cover these ones because they're done. So I'm just going to take some soil and sprinkle it on. And I will pat that down. So everything today gets covered about 1/4 inch deep. Water it in. And then that one's ready to go in the tray over by the lights. So I'll move that over here out of the way. Alright, so that is all the cabbage planted. Cabbage is here, these, and then I have red onions, Pattersons, and then the Walla Wallas. The camera shut off while I was planting the cabbage, but there's about 2 seeds, same idea as the kale and same idea as the kale, just kind of roughly across from each other. I'll show the cabbage seeds. I don't think that got caught. Maybe it did. But they're just round like a brassica. Look just a lot like the Brussels sprouts from last week. Because they're all part of the same family. So I covered those up with soil. Again, everything's about 1/4 inch deep. So I just need to put my labels on. And these labels, like really, they'll get tucked down over the edge. I won't necessarily see them while everything's growing, but as long as I know where they are when I go to put them out, that is half the battle. So now everything is labeled. We're on to adding vermiculite. Now, I did notice I have seeds coming up, I think, in almost every tray from almost every variety of everything. I have one tray that looks like it's having some algae problems. It's the tray that doesn't have seeds planted in every single cell. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, or there just wasn't like enough vermiculite on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some vermiculite to that tray and see if I can kind of cut back on some of that algae growth. The other thing that is possible is possibly taking off the lid, because that algae growth will kill the seedlings as they come up. But I'll show that to you. And I'll kind of take my best guess, because not everything has come up in that tray yet. So I added all of these into this tray. This one also, I don't know if you can see, it has a little bit of algae growth on it, but I know there's been a lot of standing water in this one. We've got one little seedling coming up in the Brussels sprouts. And then there's four, I see 4 celery. I'll probably add some more vermiculite to this when I cover it, just before I cover it back up and put it up on the shelves again. And then I think I'm going to have to turn off the lights. Maybe not. So this is snapdragons. This one looks pretty good. I have germination on just about every cell, and I have plenty to move around if need be. Also another thing of snaps. Looks like pretty good germination on this one as well. Some of those I'll have to thin, because I know there's more than I need. This is the tray that probably has like the worst algae growth, and I think it just needs more vermiculite. I've got one seedling that I don't think is going to make it from the sea holly. That one looks really good. And then these are all yarrows coming up. These ones are empty, and then those are all snapdragons back there. I really got to add some more to this one, because I see quite a bit of algae growth back there, and snapdragons definitely they'll dampen off and wither right up if they get too much algae growth in them. These snaps look like they're doing good. Germination just about everywhere. They had gotten real dry at one point. It's kind of a balancing game between how much you water them, because too much sitting water and they get algae growth, but don't water them enough and they don't germinate. Those are the Sweet William down there. They're looking great. And I have two delphiniums coming up that I can see. Got one right there, and then one over there. And I think, let me see here. I don't want to step on this tray. These are the sky blue, the ones that are coming up. Oh, there might be one cherry coming up down there. So those take a little longer to germinate. I'll have to wait on taking the tray off of those. The Sweet William are a little leggy under the lights so far, but what are you gonna do? There's only so much I can do. I think some of the snapdragon trays are getting ready to be able to take the covers off, so that should reduce my chances of algae as long as I don't have too much sitting water. So I'm going to add some vermiculite and get all of that taken care of, check water levels, but everything's looking good. Thanks for coming along. I will show you the onions and cabbage and everything as it germinates. I'll keep you updated on the seeds we have going, if I have any more algae problems, or I'm able to take care of that. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.